My night at Maud's, my night at Maud's. Just because you're a Catholic doesn't mean you necessarily have to be really strict about it. Apparently not, according to this movie. Or so we learn. Hello there, CriterioNate here. Number 3 in the Eric Rohmer's 6 Moral Tales. Number 345, My Night at Maud's. Ma Nuit chez Maud, or something like that. 1969, 111 minutes, French, black and white, blah, blah. The longest in the 6 Moral Tales, and actually this one went out of order, although this was the 4th produced. It was the 3rd one in the series, but it was the 4th produced. La Collectionneuse was actually produced in 1967, 2 years before, but they had to wait apparently 3 years for the lead actor Jean-Louis Trintignant. I do not pronounce Trent Trintignant. I'll look him up while we're talking because I want to know. Yeah, so apparently he wasn't available when they started to do the movie. And so they had to wait 3 years, and they had to shoot it in the snow during December, during Christmas season, because of the snow involved in the story. So that makes perfect sense, I guess. So they went ahead and just decided to produce. They went and produced La Collectionneuse after that, before it. The only thing is, though, the first 3 movies had to be shot in black and white, apparently. Rohmer wanted the first 3 movies to be in black and white, and the last 3 would be in color. So he goes black and white, color, black and white, just because that's how, I guess, he really had a serious, that was an interesting little thing. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that name. Not even gonna touch it. Anyway, so I'm liking these. I'm liking these stories, even if I'm not necessarily understanding them. I feel like there's a hell of a lot to get out of these. They're mysteries. They are definitely stories that don't reveal themselves in the first viewing. Yeah, so I'll just tell you what I can of it. We'll definitely rate this some spoilers because I'm not even going to try and. I may end up revealing the whole thing as much as I can tell you of it. Basically, we have a guy, Jean-Louis, who is a Catholic, goes to Mass all the time, and he eyes this girl, Francois, who he just falls for like a ton of bricks, and he says, I'm going to marry that girl. He announces it to himself. And he meets his friend, whose name I can't remember. Let's find out. Anyway, he runs into an old friend whose name is... What is his name? Vidal. And he and Vidal meet a girl. Vidal introduces Jean-Louis to his friend Maud, who they kind of... I guess Vidal and Maud kind of fool around. Maud is recently divorced and sort of has a very kind of brazen look at life, a little more, different, all that. So one night they all get together, and I guess Jean-Louis can't get back to his place because of the snow, like his car's like buried or something. But I guess Vidal can get home all right. So Maud invites Jean-Louis to spend the night at her place, and they stay up for a while, just talking about different topics. They kind of continue a conversation they had about, with Vidal, but a little more intimate because the two of them are together, and they just talk about his religion and all that, and their past lovers and all that. And he kind of just, I guess he kind of gets a new way of thinking. They end up sleeping in the same bed, although Jean-Louis sleeps on top of the covers with a blanket around him. And in the morning, they end up start cuddling, and he starts to pull himself away, and then he jumps back at her, and she says, "No, I prefer a man who knows what he wants." And so yeah, he ends up leaving, and he runs into Vidal, and they talk, and then he sees Francois, the girl he's crushing on, and he finally runs up and introduces himself to her, and they meet and they fall in love, I guess, or they spend time together and all that, and he finally confesses his love to her, and she's not really sure, but she does. She confesses that she loves him too because he's such a sweetheart and all that. And he ends up telling her about Maud. He ends up telling her that that the night that the night that he met her, the day that he met her, the night before, he had slept with somebody, and all that. So he mentioned that, and the 5 years later, they had gotten married and they have a kid, and Francois and Jean-Louis run into Maud on the beach, and Jean-Louis and Maud talk for a bit, and they realize that they say that they haven't changed, and I guess Francois and Maud met at some point during their lives, and then the last scene is just that mysterious thing where I read the book. I read the corresponding scene in the book, and I just could not figure it out. And I want to read. I kind of want to read it here, but I'm not going to read it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who would like to see this. Because it's apparently like the cornerstone, one of his most popular movies, and it was like a big success for him. So it's one of those movies that I guess if you have to see any of them, this is the one you see. So I don't want to spoil this one for anyone, so I won't read it. So let's just say they meet, and Francois seems distressed, and Jean-Louis begins to defend himself, and he catches himself in time, and they kind of forget about it, So that's all I can say. There's more to it, obviously, but I won't reveal the rest. So mostly because again I can't, and But anyway, so that's basically the plot. Again, I'm liking these a lot, even if I'm not totally understanding. I think a lot of this will come to me if I read the stories and watch them, simultaneously or separately or something like that. I feel like I'll get a better understanding of the tales. As far as the morals are concerned, I think what he was like, if anything, like the themes are obviously religion plays a big part in this movie. But also maybe sex too, or love, just religion and love. I think more love than sex. Sex is a bit of it, but love is, I think, the more overall aspect of it. Because I don't think Jean-Louis thinks about sex as much as he does because of his religion, his being Catholic. Oh, and I should mention I'll mention it later, actually. But yeah, so I think there's that, and what else? I think the other themes are just basically again, I think that's basically it, just religion and love. I'll leave it at that. I can't think of really anything else that there's to mention, and I know I'm missing something. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. That's all you really need to know. Anyway. My Night at Maud's. What do we give it? I'll give it an A-. I think, rating these, I think I liked Suzanne's career a bit more. I think if we're ranking these now, I think this was probably, I don't want to say it's my least favorite. Although I feel like the scenes where they were talking were it just became a bit just tiring, and I just kind of zoned out after a while. They just kept talking and talking and talking. It's a lot of dialogue in this movie. It's funny because it starts off with almost little to no dialogue. For the first maybe 10 minutes or so, there was almost no dialogue. And then when Maud enters the picture, they just yakety, 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 yakety. And there's almost little to no voiceover, too. Compared to the two shorts we've seen. So yeah, I think this might be my least favorite of the 3 we've seen so far, with the Baker Guillemoncio being my second favorite and Suzanne's Career still being my favorite. But again, we'll see what the we still got 3 more to go, so we'll see what what entails with those. Anyway, My Night Mod A-. Again, we may have to pick this one up. Anyway, supplements. There's a short called On Pascal, because Jean-Louis is a huge fan of Pascal and knows all his writings, and his work is discussed throughout the book. Especially he and Vidal get at go into Pascal for a bit and all that. And so yeah, so there's a episode of some show. It was a short for some TV series called Un profil dans le texte, or something like that. Hey, let's look that up. Un profil dans le texte. That's close enough. So yeah. So anyway, that's there's that, and yeah, there's just these 2 guys talking about Pascal for about a half hour, and yeah, totally just like, yeah, because I never read any of Pascal. I've heard of him, but I knew nothing of his work until seeing this movie. So, Then there's a episode of the 1974 show Telecinema, where they talk about My Night at Mod, and they have a Jean-Louis Trintignant talking about he's there, and they the film critic Jean Duché and the co-producer Pierre Cottrell. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I didn't realize until I looked at the booklet why Barbara Schroeder, I guess was doing that interview, is because he co-produced all the co-produced all the Moral Tales, and I didn't realize that until I thought he was just the star of the first one. I didn't realize he was a producer as well. So that makes sense. That makes sense for them to have a hour-and-a-half long interview, but did they really need to have an half-an-hour long interview in it? I don't think so. Trailer, and yeah. So anyway, that's it. My Night Mods A-. Alright, that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going back. We're going back 2 years to La Colecciones, but in order of the stories. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Eric Rohmer, see moral. Don't take religion so seriously. I don't know. Don't play with girls' emotions, or and yeah, that's basically all I can say. I know there's more. And don't take Pascal so seriously. There you are. That's all I got. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for La Colecciones. Now, I'll figure out how to pronounce that too. La Colecciones. And until then, goodbye.